All right, kids, you are dismissed. We'll see you guys later. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leland McFarland. I am the children's pastor. And one of the things that I get to do during this children's service is we get to release the children, and I get to do a little special message about children to you guys. I'm going to start off with a little story. Back in the 13th century, there was a Holy Roman Emperor named Frederick II. And he did this experiment. He was really, really curious on what a child would speak if he was not spoken to. He didn't get any gestures or anything like that. And so what he did is he got about 10 children, and he put them in a nursery, and he gave the nurses instructions that you are not to talk to them, you are not to give them any gestures or anything like that. You're just to feed them, take care of them, change the poopy diapers. They were very well taken care of, except for the fact that they weren't talked to. His ultimate goal is he wanted to know what language. Would a child speak the natural language of God? Would it be the language that he gave Adam and Eve? Would it be Hebrew, Arabic, Greek? But the experiment didn't last long. Because unfortunately, without any talking, without any clapping, without any gestures, all of the kids perished. Every last one of them. And it's just so important. It's just, to me, sounds how important love is. Talking, cuddling, clapping, interacting with the child is just so important. It even goes as far as if you don't have it, you can't live without it. Your child's needs. Love is so important part of the child's development. Your child needs to know they are loved in order to grow into a giving, loving, responsible adult. Love is a foundation where everything depends on the love relationship between a parent and a child. Nothing works well if a child's needs aren't met. It's very easy to, when a child is loved, everything just kind of works a little bit better. You need to make sure that their love cup is adequately full. Think of it kind of like a car with oil. Without a lot of oil, damage can be done when you're trying to run it. And if you're trying to run it even harder, even more damage can be done. And the less oil that there is, the more damage that can be done until they just eventually break down. Now notice that I didn't say gas. Because gas, what happens when a car runs out of gas? It just stops until it gets refilled. There's no damage done. But oil in a car is instrumental in making sure that it runs smoothly, properly. And it's the same thing with a child. Without love, a child, damage can be done if you're trying to push it. If you implement punishment, stop, don't do that. Come back here. I want you to do your homework. Pushing a child without love, it just returns damage towards that child. Now, don't get me wrong, we do still need to push we still need to raise our child. We still need to make sure that we need to be able to train and discipline our children, but without love, that becomes really difficult. As we've shown our children unconditional love, we will be able to better understand them and deal with their behavior. So the more that you love them, the better you're able to cope with some of the behaviors, some of the disciplines that need to be done. No child can receive too much appropriate unconditional love, but this does not mean that you can just give and give and give and then hope, well, they're good for a while. So, I'll just leave them. It's not like, they have it's more like they have a 1 pint cup. And if you try to pour in a gallon, it'll just overflow, but they'll still have that pint that'll last them as long as a pint will last them. So how do we show love? Well, there are 5 different ways to show love, and these are the 5 love languages. I knew Lisa would love this. The first one is words of affirmation. This is kind words, compliments, appreciations, raising them up. This is telling them you did a good job. You look pretty today in that outfit. Way to go at the football game. Acts of services. Doing something for your child that they kind of, that they would like to have done for them. And this one can be a little, because you're a parent, you're already taking care of them, but this is like making them some chocolate chip cookies, something like a special treat. This is, the next one is giving and receiving of gifts. Tabby's favorite. Yes, she loved gifts. But, it's gifts. The next one is quality time. Focused, undivided attention. This is you and your child together doing a task, whether it's going out to the park and playing, watching something that they want to watch, not something that's like, oh yeah, you're just going to watch football with me, but necessarily what they kind of want to do, what they're wanting to enjoy. And the last one is meaningful touch, and this is safe, meaningful touch. This is the hugs, this is the kisses, this is cuddling, this is wrestling around. This is just, and I say cuddling because that's a big one, especially for when they're young. They want to cuddle, they want to be my mommy and daddy. So do you know your child's love language? So how do we find a child's love language? Well, first of all, the 5 love languages can actually be they can be used liberally. Don't be afraid to use them. And just observe in every one how they react. After a while, you kind of see a pattern forming and to see where they're bent. What do they like? Are they more for quality time? Are they more words for affirmation? I know when I was younger, I was words of affirmation. I kind of liked being built up. So, first of all, yeah, you got your love languages. You're speaking all of them and all 5, all across the board. And so, observing your child and how they react, especially with you, and especially in how they give out love languages. Do they just want to, spend time with you? Are they going, Mommy, you look really pretty, or have a nice day at work, Dad? Really observing and kind of just seeing how they interact with you is a great way to see what the love languages they speak. The next one is going to be listening to your child's requests. Dad, you're always working late. I kind of just want to spend time with you. Or, hey, Mom, can you come and look at this homework assignment? You may know it's already done, but they're just looking to see what, you think, and maybe give that, that looks great. Good job. But observing what they're wanting from you is a great way. And also looking for the patterns. Because they may be like, oh yeah, I want a cookie at this time. And you're like, oh, he must be acts of service. I just made those cookies. He wants the cookie because I just made it for him. He must be acts of service. But then a couple of days later, it may be like, well, let's go to the park. That's quality time. I thought you were acts of service. So looking for the pattern, because something's going to come up more. They're going to be wanting to spend more time with you rather than more cookies. They're going to be looking for you to build them up more than they're going to be looking for a new pair of shoes. Notice what your child complains about. This is in the next one. What gets their goat? You know, I never have those new pairs of shoes. I love it when you go out and get new pairs of shoes. I just hate it that way. You haven't gone out for a while. I know that one can be a little tough because it's gifts. Jeez, but looking for what they complain about, what they're wanting, kind of in what they're telling you in a negative tone. So it's like, we never spend enough time with each other. And that might be something towards quality time kind of thing. The final thing that you can try to do is giving them choices. If you're not really seeing a pattern, you may want to give them an A-B option. Well, we can either go to the gym and shoot some hoops, or we can go and get you some new basketball shoes. And trying various different ones, writing it down, keeping a log, trying to figure out how to peg your child's what they're thinking or what they're wanting. Doing this multiple times over the course of weeks, not just one day after another, after another, after another. That could, I mean, especially with gifts, that could get a little expensive. But just over the course of weeks, writing it down, figuring out, trying to zero in on where your child loves language is at. That one's a great way to do it. But then again, I mean, you may give them two options, and they may go, I don't want to do any of those. Can we just sit here and play some video games together? Giving them additional options after they've said no is a great way to just keep it going. Now that you've kind of zeroed in, you've tried to, you're getting there towards your child's love language, there are going to be a few things that you're going to need to know about the love languages. When you found it, that doesn't mean that you just want to, okay, this person loves quality time. That doesn't mean you ditch the other 4 love languages. You want to keep them well-rounded. So this is the best way to build them up, but the other love languages are going to be there to help keep them well-rounded. Even though your child has a primary love language, a great deal of research has found that the emotional foundation of a child is within the first 18 years. Or not 18 years, 18 months. Thank you. So really loving a child within those first 18 months is a great way to just start them off on the right foot. And the primary love languages within the first 18 months are kind words, tender care, and physical touch. Cuddling a child, holding it, and saying, beautiful, glad you're here, kind, gentle, and doing this for the first 18 months. You can do it. Yeah. We'll just keep them we'll start them off on the right foot. As your child grows, so will their ability to express love. If they continue to receive love, they will increasingly give love. So I kind of think of it as that the pouch that they would keep wine in, and how it would expand, and an older one would just expand, and you try to put new wine into a new wine holder back in the day in wineskin. Yeah, my wife's got my back. That it would be able to hold more. But that's kind of the way that the child's love language is. I mean, the more love that they receive, the more that they can give. But conversely, on the other side, the less love that they get, the less love that they'll be able to give. So showing them love early on and keeping giving them love. That one pint will turn into a gallon, and then a 2-gallon, 5-gallon, big old bucket. And then they'll be able to pour into people. And it'll just be amazing. As your child continues to grow, great care must be given to the amount of love shared through acts of gifts and services, being appropriate with. And I talked about that a little bit earlier, being appropriate with your gifts. You can't just give them every gift that they want. I know we've all seen children who a little bit on the spoiled side. They always got their way. They always got their gifts. But those two, especially when they're in the younger age, the before the teenagers age, that can be a little overboard and can result in them just expecting gifts over time. One big thing is that a child may have a different love language from giving to receiving. So they may go in quality time that they want. They want to receive as much quality time as they can. But on the other side, they may want to do acts of service to give. And so trying to peg down which one. So when you're trying to figure it out, if they are always wanting quality time, and they're like, oh yeah, then they must love to must to give love, quality time as well. It may not be that. May not always be that. And the final thing, children's love languages can change over time. I know personally, when I was younger, was words of affirmation. I loved hearing words of affirmation. And now I'm more of a acts of service. I know just in my case, I've changed over time. And it can happen with any child. So pegging a child and saying, well, they're always quality time. And then all of a sudden, they start going into gifts, and you're like, well, why aren't you liking the quality time I'm giving you? So just be aware that over time, a child may develop, well, a child's always developing. And so pegging a child, especially when they're in the change, and you're always trying to push quality time on them when they're really going towards gifts, and maybe a little bit more of a confusing time during that change. So really keeping an eye, seeing the changes in them, and always observing, always watching. I always watch Rowan, and Rowan, he's starting to change a little. He used to be quality time and physical touch, meaningful touch, where just wrestle around, loved hugs. But now he's kind of going into, he loves words of affirmation. He loves to get praise. We come in and he'll do something, and then he'll stand back and he'll wait. Yay! Then he go and he'll do something, and he'll give something more. Just wait for that praise. Now, this isn't to say that his love language is praise right now, because unfortunately, it's hard to actually peg down a child's love language until they're about 5. I mean, really peg it down. Before then, you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to want to hang out with you. They're going to want to cuddle. They want hugs. So, yeah, they're going to want their cookie. Just when they're young, just bombard them with all 5 love languages. Show them that that you love them in each way. Because until they hit about 5, it's hit and miss. I mean, you may go, oh man, they love those words of affirmation. He must be words of affirmation for life. And then he starts turning somewhere else. But yeah, after that, you can really start to kind of figure it out. Another thing is to watch where the love language is. They may be meaningful touch, but as they're going out towards the bus and you're giving them kisses and hugs, Mom, stop it! Get off me! I'm trying to get to work. And even though it is their love language, again, it may still do some damage. Even though it may be their primary love language, they may not want it right then and there. And that's not just like, in front of their friends or whoever they are, but if you got yourself a daughter and then all of a sudden they find themselves dumped, they may not want the love language that is their love language at that time. They may not want quality time if they want quality time. They may want you to go out and buy a pint of Rocky Road ice cream. So finding the situation in which is best and really reading that, even though their love language is that it, just really tread lightly in the situation. If it's at home, that's a pretty good, safe area. Now, why is it so important? Well, I talked about that. Love is life, especially to a young child, and that it can really help grow them. 1 John 3:18 says, "My little children, let us not love in the world, neither in the tongue, but in deeds and in truth." A child really needs to develop relational skills so that they will be able to treat everyone as having equal value and will be able to better build friendships and balanced flow of giving and receiving. A child must be able to relate properly to authority. Without this, no other abilities means much. I've been in, I'm a software developer. I went to Oregon State University where I was surrounded by a bunch of geeky people. And I'm not saying that they weren't loved, but some people were kind of difficult to work with. They had amazing natural talents, but it meant nothing when you got face to face to them and they went, "Oh, well, you don't even know that? Well, let me tell you." And it's just this arrogance, that kind of exuded. They were kind of more nerdish, but it was this arrogance that kind of came off of them, and there just wasn't a lot of love from them when it came to a problem or a situation. A lot of times they skipped class, so I didn't have to worry too much about them until I had to work with them. But just making sure that they are well loved so that they can actually give love is very important, especially to the world when they get out there and they're trying to meet friends. If they don't have love and they're just giving what they've been given, which is not a lot of love and a lot of anger, a lot of why am I even bothering with you, then that's what they're going to be giving. And that's what they're going to be giving to their generation. But when you give a lot of love, then they have a lot of love. They have a massive love cup that they can then pour into other people. And then it'll affect their jobs, their futures, in how they are perceived. And that is what I have to share with you guys. I'd like to end in prayer. Lord, I thank you so much for the love that you give us, that you show us, that you pour into us, and that we can pour into our children and into the next generation. Lord, providing just these ways, these avenues to bring love into a child, I'm so appreciative, and I pray, Lord, that as we go out into this world, that we are able to show love on so many levels to our children, that we are just able to pour into them, and that they can then in turn pour into the next generation, into the next world, into their jobs, into their lives, into their schools. I pray, Lord, that this love that we provide doesn't come void, that they just are excited, that it builds them up and it edifies them, Lord. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, we got another dance for you.